Greetings. I am Tom Earl. Welcome to the celebration. We know you could be anywhere, so that you are here right now with us. I am just so grateful for that. You are valued, you are loved, and you are appreciated just as you are. We have a amazing return guest. She goes by the name of Sam. What's going on, Sam? How are you? Welcome back.
Thank you, Tom. I am fantastic. Thank you for asking. How are you, my friend?
Well, I am many things, but right now I am good with being here with you. This is wonderful. I,
Amazing.
be- I believe this is your third time as a guest.
I believe so, yes.
The first time you were at a cafe.
Oh, yes, I do remember that.
The second time I believe you were in India.
No, actually, I think the second time I was here, I was in the US, but I think we did with Jamie Dawson. Remember that?
Okay, then you were on here three times because I definitely interviewed you while you were in India.
You did interview me while I was in India, so this is my fourth time.
Fourth time! Look
Fourth
at
time. The quadruple.
that. That's amazing. Whoa, that's great. Um, Wally is going to probably be the series that comes before yours, and I believe that this is his fourth time as well. So
Oh, wow.
we're bringing out the
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 guns.
yeah, I was the special guests.
Wally is a tough act to follow, so whoever's listening, have a gentle ear on me, please.
Well, I have two intermission episodes in between.
Okay, got it.
And that's just we just it's like they're 5 minutes. I just have everybody breathe together and go catch up on past episodes. So the
That's
palette
awesome.
has been cleaned. We're coming with the fresh slate. All good.
That's awesome.
Well, why don't we wave to the camera and then we'll go strictly audio. So, Sam, where should we start? What would you share about yourself for the folks out here who haven't listened to the previous three episodes?
Well, I guess I would say I'm Indian born and raised. I moved to the US when I was 23 years old. I was in Michigan for a year, and then I moved to the warm city of Tampa, Florida. When I was 24, I've been here for roughly about in Tampa Bay. I've been here for roughly about 16 years now. And in the course of that time, I have become a spoken word poet, an anti discrimination educator, and an advocate for youth voice.
Mm. So we met in the summer of 2013, I believe, or
I
maybe it
believe
was
you are
the
right.
late spring.
Mm.
And that was just before I left. So we met just in time.
Hmm.
And I have some old photos back when I had long hair that you took that were wonderful. So also photographer. Do you still do photography?
So, not really. I ended up giving my camera to a young human who is also a photographer who was shooting one of our protests for bands off our bodies, and they took some fantastic shots. So I was super happy to just hand over my camera to them and say, "Here, you do this work now." Um, I have not done photography, Tom, since that last project that I shot with you. The reason why I was doing so much photography is because my initial dream when I moved to the US was to study photojournalism and then become a photojournalism, and become a photojournalist. I edit myself. And, like photograph the things that are important in this world, photograph the inequities in this world and the injustices in this world and so on and so forth. But being an immigrant and wanting to do photojournalism didn't meld well in terms of what I needed to be able to maintain legal status in the country. So I had to make a slight career change. And I moved into the nonprofit world, which I was working about 60, 80 hours a day, slowly but surely. That part of my profession kind of took a backseat, and I still love it. Absolutely love photography. We'll visit as many photography exhibits as I possibly can. Will get my hands on a camera as often as I possibly can, which isn't often enough. But after that project, I really didn't do much.
Well, that was a nice little conversation that got started there from that question. I feel like
Yeah,
we peeled the onion even further of who is Sam.
it's not that hard. I am not a very hard person to talk to. So there we go. Can I in return ask you something from that project, from that time frame?
Yeah, let's do it.
Did you move to California right after that?
I did. I did like maybe a month later.
A month later. Wow, that
Yeah.
you're not wrong. You moved right before. Or rather, we met right before you moved.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that when we were doing photographs, I did that one project with you where I shot you with your long hair, but I should probably say photographed you with your long hair. But did we not also do a project where I photographed you for a poetry album?
You mean for like my poetry album?
Yes.
Okay,
Maybe not.
so maybe we're talking about two different things and now the same thing. So I think
Got it.
you're talking about where you shot like just people's eyes or their mouth or something like that, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And I was talking about where you took those promo photos of like, there's like an epic one where I have like a thobe on and I have my guitar and Sadia's walking next to me like down the street. And I remember posting that and people really
That
liking
is
that one.
correct. Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And then there's like another one where we're like in an alley and there's like a Frida graffiti and we're
Yes,
next
that's
to
what I
that one.
remember.
Yes. Yeah, those were super awesome photos. Those are really awesome photos.
That was a
Yes.
fun shoot because we were in St.
Yes.
Pete.
Exactly.
Got it.
That actually was what I was talking about.
Got it. What did you end up doing with those photos?
I mean, they were like on my website for a long time and I, posted them and they were just a part of the Tom Earl propaganda campaign of hire this poet.
Fantastic. As it should have been. That's awesome, Pam.
And then I cut my hair and I couldn't use them anymore. So
right, rightfully so.
But they were awesome while they were awesome.
100%. That's what I remember. I remember us being in that alley. That's the memory that I have.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Yes.
So talk to me about what youth development looks like for you these days.
These days, it's a little more organic, I would say. Back in the day when I was working for Community Tampa Bay, youth development was what I did, right? As part of my profession, as part of my job. So there was a lot of entry spaces because I was connected to an organization. And now there are not as many spaces to engage because I'm not connected to an organization. I'm my own brand. Yes, I'm an advocate for youth voice, but for many reasons that I'm sure folks already know, we connect more value when we assign more value when somebody is connected to an organization. So I can't, in good faith, say that youth development looks the same. I definitely feel like I had a lot more impact when I was at Community Tampa Bay, simply because of the number of young humans I had the privilege of interacting with. I do have so many of my young humans still connected to me, though, so that's fantastic. And then in this, I live in Florida, where DeSantis is governor, and we are seeing all of these anti-trans youth, anti-full and complete authentic education laws being passed. And so a lot of young humans are taking it upon themselves to fight what they feel is for justice, to fight for what they feel are their rights that they're absolutely spot on about. And I've just been doing the role of being a responsible adult that they can have access to. So I might not reach as many young humans as I previously had the privilege and opportunity to be able to reach, but I'm still able to play a role in that I'm there. They know I'm a safe human who's there, and will not try to overtake their movement, or will not try to tell them how to run things, but will absolutely be there to support them as they need.
Mm. What led to the decision to take the route you've taken?
Could you be more specific?
I was trying to find like a non-labeling way to be like, went off on your own, or or doing it underneath the banner of your LLC rather than an organization.
Well, I mean, not for not trying, I left Community Tampa Bay because my values with the organization no longer aligned. And to be both diplomatic and clear, my values never changed. My values were the same over the course of the 5 years that I was with the organization. My values were the same. My values were previously appreciated, and my values were accepted and, like I said, appreciated for what they were. Over the course of, I want to say, the last 2 years with different leadership, values changed. And so I decided this was no longer a space where I could do the work that I was hired to do as the human that I have always been. And so I left the organization. I'm an immigrant. I came to the US on a student visa. Once I started working, I transitioned over to a work visa. And so when I left CTB, Community Tampa Bay, I then went looking for work, and it was incredibly difficult. Even it was incredibly difficult with my qualification, despite my qualifications and my work experience, to get any job that would sponsor a work visa. The shocking part of it was all the jobs that I applied for were equity and justice organizations that are nonprofits. And so many of them either flat out said, yeah, we don't do that, or made it seem like, A, I was asking them to do me a favor by sponsoring my visa, or B, made it seem like I was asking them to do something illegal by letting them know that I needed visa sponsorship. One of the organizations even said to me, we can't do that because we do things by the book here. And after yeah, and after that, after having had that experience, I started working voluntarily at an organization called Common Ground Project that was run by a good friend of mine, Lisa Perry, and that was a phenomenal organization. We had started to do great work, but the political dynamics in Florida changed so quickly, and the manner in which that the Democrats lost in Florida was so devastating in the 2022 elections that a lot of the funding within the state got pulled. And so the organization had to zoom out and take a step back. And there wasn't a lot of space for full-time staff.
Mm.
After having had all of these experiences, I was like, my God, I really do break my back for everybody else, don't I? I'm just going to do this on my own from now on. And so as of January 1st, 2023, I started running my organization, my company, on my own. At that point, my immigration status had changed, and so I was able to do so without requiring a visa sponsorship.
Are you? That sounds like good news that your immigration status changed. Is it good news?
That is definitely good news. In March of 2022, I married my wife.
Oh, congrats!
Yeah. I married my wife, Danielle. After careful consideration, we were like, "Yep, we're gonna move up this marriage date because Florida might just fall into the ocean. Who knows? The U.S. is getting run by fascists. We need to protect our family unit as best we can." So we moved up our marriage date. We got married March of 2022. Shortly thereafter, we filed immigration paperwork. And because of that, my status is a lot more secure than it was before. And I'm able to do so much more because of it.
What does that feel like, having that change?
Oh, unbelievable. Absolutely, absolutely phenomenal. I
Mm.
mean, we already have such a great life, like I always tell people, I work in politics, I work in advocacy, I work in activism, right? So you can really take a beating given where you live, right? And so living in Florida, especially under this legislature, has been so hard, not just being a queer person, but being a brown person, being a woman, being an immigrant. All of it just latches onto you and kind of tries to drain everything out of you. But Danielle and I, we've built such a beautiful life for ourselves. I always tell people we've built a fortress around ourselves in this incredibly awful world. And because of that, we have the privilege of saying, despite everything that's happening outside of our home holds a very beautiful life for us. And we are incredibly grateful for that.
Mm. Well, I certainly have a lot of follow-up questions there. And I was also referring to having more security in your immigration status. What's that been like?
That's been fantastic. It's more liberating than anything else. It's security for sure, but there's, just a lot of freedom in it, right? Being able to not having to work for a particular employer, not having to work for only that employer, being able to set your own terms. It coincides. The immigration status coincides with me running my own business. So I'm my own boss, right? Being able to do that, yes, of course, it's a lot of responsibility, but not being stuck with this arbitrary, consistently precarious nature of immigration that's always breathing down your neck, telling you what you can and cannot do. I'm not completely out of it yet, but I'm getting close. And that feeling is incredibly liberating because I can just do so much more and breathe so much freer. And everybody should have the opportunity to do that.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is I feel like you're giving me the 3.5 year catch up in 15 minutes. It's very
Indeed.
helpful.
That's what it feels like, right? Absolutely. No, fam.
Well,
But
are there go ahead, I'm sorry. Yes, go for it.
I was going to say, you've also had, speaking of 3.5 year catch up, you've also had a lot happen in the last 3.5 years.
I certainly have. Where would you like me to start? What are you most curious about?
At the beginning.
At the beginning?
Well, first, I want to know about your baby. I want to know how old, what are her pronouns? What are their pronouns?
Well, for now, I mean, it's a guess. So we're using she and her.
Okay.
For now.
Heard.
Yeah.
I want to know more about her. How old she is, what she's up to, how it feels to be a dad, father, so on and so forth. And then I also want to know, I'm super curious about your partner's movie that is winning awards across the board. I want to know about that.
Okay.
Dish.
Jaima's the best. She's the absolute best. It's I'm always trying to find the lines of consent, if you will, of sharing her story in a recorded way,
right?
And sharing her journey. So I think we can offline, and you'll get to meet her very soon.
Of course.
I'll be able to share more things that way, so I can share more my experience. I
would love that.
It's way more everything than I ever anticipated it was going to be. I was very hesitant to have a kid, engage in fatherhood. I thought it was going to completely take over my life. And change me, and it has. But the thing that's different is I'm grateful for it. Like, I welcome it. The youth development stuff that we have done, and that's, like that has really lent itself to parenting. Like, even though obviously we weren't doing dialogue with toddlers,
Right.
um, it's very much lent itself to that. And I think that patience of being able to listen and remain calm and curious amidst a storm, and high emotions that
Mm.
being a facilitator we've been trained to do, it does really lend itself to that. Um, so I have also found that I have the temperament for it. I like being on a team and having a mission greater than yourself, and then kind of having to eat dirt for, day after day, and monotony and hardship. And like, there's a part of me that enjoys that kind of striving. So,
Right.
because there is a lot of monotony, there's a lot of boredom, there's a lot of highs and lows where one second you're getting a hug and the next second it's the opposite. So I enjoy it. I enjoy getting the opportunity to every day debrief with myself and kind of play back through all the different scenarios. Like, one thing I noticed that I think a lot of parents relate to, so it's not, I don't think, crossing any lines, is transitions are really hard.
Okay.
So let's say we're like playing outside and now it's bath time, right? That's a transition. And so that's usually really hard, like to
Hmm.
get in the bath. And now you're in the bath, and now you don't want to leave the bath, even though you didn't want to be in the bath 2 seconds ago. So now we got to get ready for bed. So like those transitions. So I found on a Saturday, I was like, I really don't have anywhere I have to be. So let me see what happens if I didn't force any transitions. Like, if I just encouraged it, like definitely created a forward momentum, but let me see how much longer it take. And for the most part, through the maybe 15 transitions we had that day, the most a transition ever took longer than I wanted it to was like 20 minutes. So even something like that, like being like, okay, so then forcing it and creating this frustration and anguish, what is the reason for that?
Right.
Sometimes we really do have to go. Like, if we're going to catch a flight, like 20 minutes does matter.
Uh-huh.
But there are more oftentimes than not where it is more that this is how I want the day to go, and you're not keeping up with the vision I had for this schedule, and
Uh-huh.
this is kind of inconveniencing me. And also, it can become a power struggle, and then the ego can become like, well, I'm the adult, I should just automatically be the one who gets to win a power struggle.
Right.
Because if you think that you can win, then you're always going to do like, so kind of like, I've enjoyed being like questioning that, like, why should I always win in a power struggle, and why are we even in a power struggle?
Mm.
Like, she'll ask me for things sometimes, and my first answer will be no. And then I always say she's a very good negotiator, because then she'll present her case and I'll be like, that is a really good point. I actually don't know why I said no. And so I can continue to say no, because like conventionally it's like, well, you don't want to feed into that. If they kind of like challenge you and do these things that, it shows them that if they do that, they can get their way. It's like, but at the same time, if I don't have a good reason for saying no, why would I continue to say it now, just because like arbitrarily I'm supposed to like stick to it so that it doesn't. So it's been interesting. Like, I've enjoyed the process of kind of like questioning so many different things. And well, the next day you're up at 7 and you get to like apply the insights you gained that night debriefing and experiment with it again. And so there's like an aspect of that I enjoy.
That's very interesting. Wow. I do think a lot of times adults, when we work with youth, outside of the context of, you and I having worked with youth, right, in a very specific type of program, outside of that in general, when we work with youth, we function on just a binary system when we do that, right? It's not expansive enough for the uniqueness of each young human. It is more often than not very boxed in and just so suffocating, not just for the young human, but for the adult as well, right? And I think it's interesting that you're doing the work of asking, well, your young human is doing the work of negotiating with you and asking you, what are your reasons behind this no? And then you're also leaning into that and saying, well, that is very true. Why was my response no? And I think that is the part that is not the binary that I have seen so many adults struggle with, because having to have that kind of self-reflection and self-awareness makes answers a whole lot more blurry and difficult. And we're conditioned to have all the answers.
And I think what's I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just said just an observation.
No, I appreciated that. And I think one thing that I'm describing it is like a very, like, my daughter's being very curious, but it's usually not. It's usually very like explosive, right? I'm like, no, and it's very explosive. So, but to me, it's like, well, those are the tools of negotiation that a 2 and a 3-year-old have,
right?
Like they don't know it, like it's their whole feelings are their entire being, and so it's gonna be jumping up and down and yelling and like, no, why, like, and so for me, it's like, and I think that's, to be fair, like sometimes where you do have to question, it's like, well, I don't want you to think that I'm saying yes because you made a big fuss, right? Like there are times it's like, that's kind of the no easy answer, but to me, it's like, that's a good point. Even if it's in a very explosive way, like that is a good point. Why am I saying no? So I think it's at the same time can almost feel like a guess, like, well, am I encouraging explosiveness can get your way, and can this then translate to when you're interacting with your peers? Or, but it's like, I have faith that communication between the two of us every day becomes easier, and that, maybe it's a little bit of wrestling with perfectionism, of feeling like, oh, these are such formative years, and the decisions I make today, if I make the wrong guess, it's going to ruin everything. I think it can be a little bit of that. And it's like,
yeah.
I've always just tell myself, when she's 4 or 5 or 6 and we can have conversations, like I can be like, I made the wrong choice. Okay. So let me point out to you how I modeled wrongly and how it's impacting you. And trust me, if you keep going down this road, it's going to make your life harder. Like I have faith that I can point out to her the order of events, and, that we can talk about it, that there's the ability to revisit, that we're both encouraging a growth mindset and able to be malleable, or neuroplasticity, or whatever the words are that we can change. But that can be a thing of feeling like, well, should I do this, should I do that, should I do this, should I do that, and catching yourself of, you don't have to be perfect, you just have to, I don't know, fill in the blank.
Yeah, do your best, I guess. I don't know. That's a daunting feeling to have. I can only imagine.
The stuff around social identity stuff has already started to come up. So that's I've seen the Dr. Clark experiments with the dolls, but to see that live so early. So that's also like, if let's give a theoretical example that may or may not be true. Like if
Mm-hmm.
your daughter really gravitates towards pink and princesses? Is it sexism that has funneled this, or is it a genuine like? Is it how do we have a nuanced conversation? And one of them even that I have started to say is like, well, not all princesses, like a princess can wear shorts, a princess can wear pants, like you don't just have to wear a dress to be a princess. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
even that's been, I've noticed, like a little mind blowing. Like, what? Are you sure? I'm like, I promise I have met princesses who wear shorts. Like you can wear flip flops. Like you don't have to be like in the Disney movies with the gown and the hair and the shoes and the
Yeah, that's tough to navigate. It's already showing up, huh? That's super interesting.
and at the same time, it is so much fun.
Right. Yeah, and there's so much time too, you know.
Inshallah.
I mean, like my wife's sister has a child who I think recently only turned about 5 years old, and her interests changed day to day. One day she's all about being a princess. Next day she was all about being Bob the Builder. Third day she wants to know why Sam has magic tattoos. She asked her mom, why does Sam have magic tattoos? I don't even know what that means. I don't know if it's the font or if it's the script that I have on my hand that is leading her to believe that, or whatever it is. But, you know, Sam has magic tattoos. Those tattoos can do magic. I don't even know what her mom has no idea where she's getting that from. I have no idea where she's getting that from. But there's some connection that she is making, right? That we are not seeing. And I think they're so curious about so many things. And I feel like continuously just fueling that curiosity does a huge part of the work of negating systems that are trying to perpetuate both parenthood and childhood without consent.
Yes. Well, your second question, Adoris film. Why don't we start the next episode there? We'll talk about that's how we can start next week. How does that sound for you?
That sounds fantastic to me.
Well, this was a first great episode, us getting a chance to catch up. I feel like we covered like we were like, okay, here's the big picture, and then each episode we can go deeper and deeper on some of these things.
Sounds fantastic to me.
Okay, so this is the part of the episode where we I used to say shamelessly self-promote, so maybe we'll also say like gloriously self-promote, or this is your chance for the folks who want to remain connected to your world. How can they do that?
So I am pretty much on every possible social media. Look up Sam Poet Tampa. My website will show up. My website is samiraobeid.com. That's SAMIRAOBEID.com. It has my Facebook, my Instagram, my LinkedIn. It has my TikTok. Y'all can follow me any and all of those places if you want. There's also a newsletter sign up on my website on the contact page. Feel free to sign up to my newsletter. If fun newsletters go out, I will only contact you 1 month. I do not believe in spamming people, but I think it's a pretty awesome newsletter where we have some pretty dope conversations that I think people would appreciate. Just sign up for that, or if you need to, if you would like somebody to come read poetry at a space that you are a part of, feel free to reach out to me at samiraobeidllc@gmail.com. That's SAMIRAOBEIDLLC@gmail.com.
And can they hire you for youth development stuff too?
You can hire me for youth development. You can hire me for civic education and engagement and or training. And you can hire me for poetry.
Boom. Wonderful. Be sure to follow Sam, support. Sam is by far one of my absolute favorite poets and by far one of my absolute favorite facilitators. So heck, you could even combine them, hire Sam to come facilitate dialogue through poetry. So be sure, reach out to Sam. For us over here, you may already know that we host a journaling community. Once a month, we get together and journal together, and then you get a 30-day journal you get to work through. And every month, we repeat the cycle. You also get access to our private podcast. If you're interested in that, tomearl.me/DCM invite. That's direct connect method invite. Okay, Sam, our closing ritual is to share with the good folks out there an invitation. So what would you like to invite them to do, to be, to consider, to think about, to evolve into, to read? Anything. What's your invitation?
I would like to invite folks to think about the various ways in which they interact with young humans in our world, the various ways in which they support our young humans in the world, and most importantly, the various ways in which they interact with the young human that they used to be, and what that internal talk looks like.
Sam giving y'all a deep and nourishing invitation, if I might say. I will build off Sam's invitation with my invite as well. I feel like I pronounced your name strangely in that one. Sam's invitation. I'm going to build off it. And I invite you, when you are loving on a child in a open and heartfelt way, to reflect upon the love that you deserve as well, that you deserve kindness and curiosity and gentleness and whatever it is that fills your cup, you deserve that too. So I invite you to name that and to go on that journey, because I have been on it, and it is a doozy. It'll break you open, but it's rewarding. Sam, thank you so very, very much for episode 1. I'm so excited that we get 3 more of these. So thank you for being here with us.
Yeah, of course.
And to all of those who are listening, as always, we're wishing you peace and blessings. Thank you. One more thing. I'd love to continue the conversation. Feel free to join me at tomearl.com/join. Subscribe below, or let's connect on social media. Tom Earl Artist. Thanks again for watching.